Hey, everybody. It's obviously Brian Ridgway again. And I've done this now a couple times, and it's been seriously awesome. Rather than getting a testimonial from someone after I work with them, actually interviewing them. This has been great, and people are commenting and appreciating it so much. And this one, you just better look out. You better look out. This one is going to be extra crazy, badass, awesome. So I'm with Ehab, and Ehab, I have made the attempt on more than one occasion. Would you pronounce your last name ideally, please?
Hamarneh.
See, I'm not even going to go there. You did great, though, man.
And go with harmony. People, they mistake it with harmony, and they say like, yeah, just that's perfect.
Yeah, see, that actually works. That I could have done that. That's where I would have gone anyway. Okay, so Ehab is of Jordanian ancestry and is living in Scotland. And he reached out to me months ago after reading my book. Was that the first action he had?
Yeah, actually, I saw your interview with what's her, Liz. I think she's a business coach. Yeah. So I saw there, and I asked a question. I bought your book, and I just got hooked.
Awesome. And then so Ehab reached out and wanted to do the liberation work, which is where I work with someone for 4 days. And I do very little of that these days, but people either fly to Hawaii and spend a few days with me or fly me to them. In this case, I went to Scotland. We did a couple of things. We did a live event there that he and a friend organized. And I also did for reasons we might discuss later, we only did 3 of the 4 days. So I want to ask you a few questions that you have for the benefit of everybody. And people are curious about what happens when you work with my crazy ass. You know, what actually happens. So first things first, tell everybody who you are, a little bit of background, what you're focused on right now, business and career wise.
Sure. So I'll give people just a very, very, very brief about myself. I got in 2012 into self-growth through some kind of, you might call it, mystical event. A girl just came and just told me about consciousness, so I got hooked. And from there on, it wasn't a hobby. It never been a hobby. It was like all in. Just, you know, when you go in the poker all in, that was my case. I just put every single thing in my life on that. I was studying, meditating. Like people usually, they start meditating 10 minutes. I started meditating 1 hour. So that's what I mean, like all in. And I was in that mood all day long. Well, I still in that kind of that place. So I was everything all in. I studied hundreds of books, hundreds of trainings, going all around the world. I got coached, mentored, whatever, you just name it, working with monks, shamans, anything I could just literally put my hands on. I was just going all in, diving all in with everything. I studied different healing modalities. I became a Reiki master. I became a coach and speaker and trainer. And now I have my own coaching, which is, I freaking love. It's kind of my mission. It's called Highest Possible Expression. And I have community for it. If people want to tune in Facebook, it's called Highest Possible Expression Community. Just doing some ads for myself.
Yeah, perfect. Now, before you go further, I have a question for you. When a lot of people are familiar with my story that, like, I pursued self-help for well over 30 years, and it was not a luxury for me. My life was a fucking train wreck.
Yeah.
And I had spent hundreds of thousands. I went through all the self-help stuff. And when that stuff didn't quite work for me, either I didn't work or it didn't. I started to feel more and more confused by the conflicting approaches. I got into energy work. I got into what most people consider woo-woo, which became very practical for me. When somebody does that, and you did it as well, Ehab, when someone does that, they're usually not doing it because their life is a perfect dream. They're usually doing it because there's something painful. There's something that they really are motivated to change, right? You don't go to the auto mechanic every day because you enjoy it. You go there to get the damn thing fixed so you can drive it, right? So what if you don't mind sharing as transparently as you want, what were you dealing with?
Now, funny enough, if you asked me that question back that time, I would tell you, my life is fine. I won't tell like my life was a crap. But looking back to what's happening after years of growing, I started realizing that I was in not just in a pain, I was in a deep, deep suffering, but I would say I wasn't conscious like most people. They live in suffering, but they're just not fully conscious of what's possible. They think this is what life is. So obviously, I got into self-growth because I was in deep suffering. Now, if I want to sum it up, what kind of suffering? I had an abuse when I was like 1 year old that I didn't even know that it happened by that time. And it was affecting every aspect of my life. My life wasn't even close to ordinary. It was really like just a very conditioned life, because I lived in a culture that would tell you what should you do, what you should not do, what's right, what's wrong, what's sin, what's not sin. So I was living into that rules, and I was limiting myself in the most ways possible. In every area in my life, I was limiting myself. I wasn't living my true self. I wasn't living my true masculinity. I wasn't suffering. I lived through a lot of bullying. My self-image was absolutely distracted. I was looking for value from outside. But as I said, because most of people in my culture, they have the same kind of lifestyle, you don't consider it, you consider it usual. As you said once, like we think usual is going 9-5, like having beer and sitting for 2 hours. So I was living, quote unquote, the usual. But funny enough, my mission, my real drive, what fires me up is the complete opposite of that, which is transcending cultural belief, transcending limitation, living in absolute state of infinite possibility, state of openness. That's the change we are discussing about change. That's the change I want to do myself and to bring to the world, which is what highest possible expression is all about. Finding that thing that fire you up. So I was living that ordinary life. I studied engineering because if you get a good marks in Jordan, you study either medicine or engineering or something within that realm. So I was living that school kind of life. You do that, you do that, you do that, you do that. It's a very orthodox part of living. So I got into that. I worked in engineering for a couple of years. I absolutely freaking hated it. Not because engineering is not good, but it wasn't my full expression. I worked with managers that, like people you don't want to work with. And they were like telling me every day how shitty I am. And I remember one day he called me, Brian, and he said, you know what, Ehab, your potential is to be a secretary. That's your maximum potential. Again, there's something wrong with secretary, but he was just saying that to put me down. And I know I was creating that now. So I'm not living that victim, but I was in that place where I was allowing everything around me to put me in a very state of lack of value. I wasn't feeling anything close to self-love, living a very conditioned life. So that kind of suffering with the abuse and what came with it. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome, man. That's so clear. Thank you. And I know a lot of people can relate, even if they weren't in the same culture as you, that stuff is nearly universal. Okay. And so,
yeah, I think just to add something, I think people like who lived in the Middle East who would can relate more, because the cultural thing I'm talking about is like something as you can't have sex, you can't do that so it's like a strong emotion about those stuff. There is a very strong hot psychological button about so much stuff in life that leaves you living in a jail, basically.
Beautiful. Now that's super powerful, being that my own focus, as you very well know, is freedom.
Yeah, of course.
So when sometimes people ask me, what is what's your real focus? Like I hear people losing cancer, like weird stuff happens, like, but what are you actually doing? What I see that I'm doing is I'm helping people to become free. Now, free implies free of something, because you can't become free unless you're a prisoner of something. And so what we're a prisoner of is all of the stuff that mom and dad taught us, which they meant well. They believed it themselves. They were victims of being inundated with bullshit by their parents who meant well. So then, first of all, there's the parental conditioning and programming, often with deep emotional and mental violence. Okay. Yeah. Then there's the cultural, which is tied to geography and time. And then the religious flavors that are either super overbearing or even just like sprinkled through the culture in any case.
Yeah.
This scares the hell out of a lot of people, but the people that come to me want freedom. They actually want to find out who and what am I and what's actually available to me independent of all that programming. And then I can pick and choose consciously which of those pieces of programming or what do I actually like? What is actually true for me? Okay. So you spent roughly 5 years, once you discovered this, you spent 5 years diving in, going towards your PhD, which you're close to, in leadership. Okay. Became a Reiki master, wanting to address some of these pains and other things. And then when you saw my work and you said, you know, you did your plug. Here's my plug. My stuff actually works, right? It actually works. And one of the biggest things people want to understand, which is why I started doing these interview style, is what is different about my work compared to everything else? Why does it actually get such instant and deep and lasting magnitudinous results? And what's up with that? So when you look at all the things you went through and you did not dabble like me, you dove in with everything you had: seminars, shamans, monks, conversations, inquiries, meditation, belief elimination, mind shifting approaches, law of attraction, all of it. When you found me, we had that very first conversation, and we don't need to go super deeper into it because you actually did a testimonial following that. We worked together for a couple minutes, and you had the biggest breakthrough on that deep trauma that you'd ever experienced. We don't really, you know, I want to touch it. Now we move on.
No, I'm radically open about anything. So anything you want to share is fine with me.
Beautiful. Okay. Well, so then after that moment though, you said, you know what, I'm going to spend the days with this guys. I'm going to make the time, the money, and the energy investment to spend the days with Brian and go all the way into this.
Yeah.
How would you describe what those 3 days were like, the value that you received, and what the outcome is? And I may ask a couple more fine-tuning questions.
Sure. First, let me say this work is, at least that's again my own perception, so I can't speak about everyone, but I would speak about myself, my own experience. This work is for truth lovers, for someone who's passionate about truth. For me, truth and freedom is kind of synonymous. There is no difference between them because truth is freedom. So this is not to become better in your own thinking of what better is, because this will collapse your psychology. This is for being you, being truly you, being your original self, your genuine self. Now, just to give people a view of what happened, the first day I met you, before we even start working together, I remember I went home and I had the craziest dreams ever, that I was dreaming that we were together and working together for the whole night. So the work even started the day before we started, in a way. So that's just how powerful it is. Now, the work I did with you, Brian, let me find words to it, because there is certain emotions and certain feelings that sometimes is quite subtle and it's quite challenging to put words to it, but I'll try my best. What you do, you see behind what's going on behind the conditioning. And people think that conditioning is something that's very obvious, which is not, because you could be spending 30 to 40 years working in something, but you don't see because you're in it. You're so in it, you think this is me. So I used to think of myself as me in a certain way. The first day you saw me, you saw what's behind that, and you kind of radically shake those cultural belief or those concepts, because let's not call it culture, because eventually it's just thinking. You shake that thinking, you shake that emotion behind it to bring the purest form of oneself. And if there is one thing I realized that matters in life, it's being you. Now that might sound simple, like you find hundreds of freaking people saying like, be you. You find it in quotes, you find it in posts, everyone's saying be you. I used to say be you, and that wasn't truly me. Not because I was lying, not because I was like intentionally being a fraud, but at a certain level I was a fraud, because part of me wasn't my real self. I wasn't expressing my true authentic self. So what you do, you kind of burst through that and go into the most original self in everyone. And I believe now with no shadow of a doubt that there is nothing more important than being you. Everything else is kind of secondary. Like we've been told that business is all about strategies, it's all about techniques, and life is all about that, and health is all about that, and relationships is all about that. But eventually that's all secondary. What really matters is being you moment to moment. And being you is being that calm, centered, true self that's unconditioned, that never changed. And I can see now very clearly that the part of us that changes itself, it only seeks love. The part of us that buy all the cultural baggages, the parental baggages, the religious baggages, it just did that because of love. So you allow me to see that clearly, and not just intellectually, to go into the emotionally that we're like has the quote unquote the power over me. And you bring me back the power to see, you know what? Those emotions are no more than conditioning, and you can be you. Now that there is a taste for freedom that I can understand why people used to go to war for the call of freedom. People used to quote unquote sacrifice themselves, because there is a taste for it that it really transcends the taste of anything else. And I can see that eventually everything we do is just to have that feeling, that taste of, you know what, I can be no matter what. I can be myself no matter what. And nothing has the power over me. No government, no Trump, no nothing, just have the power over me. I can be me. And this is so fucking precious. And the work you do, you help people to collapse what's between them and themselves. And you do it not just for 4 days and then you're gone and the person is like fucked without you. You help people with, you empower people to have the tools and the techniques. And maybe techniques is not the best word, but I would say you help them to see the reality of what was leading them into that fake self and how to be aware of that. So after you left, many stuff came to the surface. So it wasn't like, as we said, like butterflies. But it was for the first time in my life, now I really can see when the fake self comes to the surface and I'm really centered, no matter what the situation is. No matter what the situation is. And I was in Switzerland for a week, and it was the first time I was looking to a mountain, if you allow me to say that. I was looking to a mountain in front of me, and I was thinking, shit, I really feel like that mountain. I really feel unshakable. I really feel unshakable security. I really feel power that goes beyond the power that has nothing to do with feeling. So it's not the unshakability as like being stiff, that, you know what, I'm feeling unshakable. No, unshakable, I could be as sad as fuck. I could experience sadness. I could experience anger. I could experience fear, and still I could be me. That unshakable self. And that sense of safety that does not change with feeling, that does not change with places. I think with that sense of safety, the person become bold as fuck. Nothing can stop them. And it's not me or you bold. I think this is an innate quality in everyone once they realize that nothing can shake them. They just go for their dreams. And I can see the difference, Brian, after the work. Like now, everything I've been holding back and I've been planning to do for years, it's just happening. So now I have a personal trainer for my health. I've been putting that for a year. Just when those stuff goes away, there's a flow. I start learning about investment, which I've been putting down for a year. Now I start my highest possible expression show, which again, I've been planning for a long time. So all that stuff, when there is no limitation, it becomes easy. Even the videos I do, Brian, in the past when I do video, I used to tame my language. I used to tame the information. I used to tame the vibration of it to make it kind of appealing. And the self-talk in my mind, even I remember when I speak about something, there was a self-talk in my mind. You know what people in the Middle East gonna say about that? What people gonna say about that? What about your parents? What? And they would have those pictures. Now that self-talk is gone. And it's not like it's gone out of force. Like I force myself not to think. I think positive, not to think of that. No, it's just it's irrelevant now to what I do. As voice can come and go, but it's irrelevant. And that's why I feel now I'm very authentic. And I guess this is the most important thing. Now, I guess I know in my heart that there is nothing more important than being you. And being you, it means releasing anything that's not you, going to that unchangeable part. And if there is a genius that can do it, you can do it. Like your approach is so radical, it's so different, it's so truth-based. And that's what's different about it. Because you can grow with something that doesn't bring you to your truth. You can be as rich as fuck, but without being truthful. You can have sex as much as you can, but without being truthful. You can have an amazing business without being truthful, and I can see it won't be sustainable fairs, and most important, you won't be fulfilled. So the key point is being you, and you have a very radical approach of doing that, and now things are becoming simple. I can see the clarity of that I know it before, but it wasn't as grounded as I am now. And I used also one thing, I used to think of expansion as just going out of your body. And now I can see that expansion actually is being there in your body. And that's where I feel unshakability. And I know between me and that unshakability is just one thought. And you allow me to see that. We dig deep, we work in 4 days in stuff that might take 30, 40 years to work on. And even the trauma, holy crap, it was like 1 year old to have an abuse for a nanny for 1 year. That usually create a permanent code damage for one's psyche, because your whole psyche were built upon the beliefs you created from that. So to go there and I really see the gift on it now. It's not a concept. I really see it as a bliss, and actually it adds to my wisdom now.
Yes. Man, that's beautiful. Yeah, that is beautiful. All right, now I have you've established everything. I know that I know you've answered a lot of questions already for a lot of people.
Yeah, I speak too much.
No, not at all. I don't believe you can, bro. I don't believe you can. Like, that's your soul, that's your truth, and you said it in a way that no one I've ever worked with has actually expressed it the way you did. It's so unique and it's so accurate. Okay, so I want to talk about the investment and you and I both know what you said at the end of the first day and what you said at the end of the second day. Okay, and the fact that by the third day you're like, dude, I don't need it. I'm done. Like, I'm so cooked and it is so freaking awesome. Let's save the fourth day. We agreed, save the fourth day. And so we're actually going to go into that today, just as a side note, right? When you look at the size of the investment, that was a significant investment. Anyone looking at, a multimillionaire, billionaire looking at hiring me to do what you and I did, it's a significant investment. You did it really without a second thought. That's for damn sure. And I know you came to me with your list and even though you trusted me, even though you trusted yourself, you did have some concern during the first day or so, like, oh yeah, but my list, are we gonna deal with all this?
Dear list.
That's your sweet little list. So when you look now at the list of issues you wanted to change and you look at the value of investment. So here's my selfish purpose in this right now. Someone watching this video is thinking, wow, maybe I would want to work with Brian, but I got all these things and I don't know if I don't know if he can actually help with these because my problems are so unique and different. And that's a lot of money. Okay. What would you say to someone in that situation who really does want freedom and really does want to get to the next level?
Sure. We spend money in so much bullshit. That's to start with. And the one thing that matters, freedom, we consider it expensive. So remember, Brian, we were sitting at the restaurant and the girl said to you something, this is expensive. And you said, I don't use that terminology anymore.
Yeah.
And I believe that's true. If you look to the number of investment as expensive, for me, with all respect, and I used to have that doubt before, it means you don't value freedom. That's as simple as that. Is it like, if you don't see freedom as the most precious thing in the whole freaking universe, if you don't see truth as the most precious thing, then you will see that as expensive. But just to kind of bust through those doubts, I will tell you something. If you know that all your problems will be solved, not in a way that you won't have any problem anymore, but in a way you will realize that problem is illusion. In a way that you will see that you are creating your own experiences. In a way you can see you are creating your own limitation. That's not a tiny shift in paradigm. That's a radical shift, revolution in the way you experience life. That's the most precious investment you can ever freaking make in your entire life. What other thing you can invest on? And if there is, I work again with many people. If someone do the work you do, then just brilliant, just go for it and invest, do the same investment, because it's about freedom. But it happened that you do that work at such an efficiency and such a practicality and such a speed and such a radical honesty and power, and let me find the word, ruthless honesty, and again, speed. Then I really encourage people, if you feel that's in your heart, go for it. I remember I came with 70, 60 problems. The second day they were gone, not because we went through those problems one-to-one. And I can see no matter who you are, no matter what country you're from, we deal almost with the same limitation. And the solution for it is truth. The solution for it is transcending them, not keep picking one problem and solving it, picking one problem. And you have that way of helping people to see that, that's illusion, that's not real, that's created in your own thinking. Funny enough, actually, I was walking today in the park, since you're mentioning that, and again, we're saying something about my English is not that good. And it hit me, it was like a memory, like an old memory. Holy shit, I used to not just to think of that, I used to suffer from that, and spend so much energy. And not because I'm not aware. I tried to tackle those stuff from every single angle. So it wasn't like I'm a victim to it. I was always empowered and tried to tackle it, but it was consuming my energy. And when she said that, in my inside I was laughing. For me, it's kind of a joke that I was able to see it's not your English problem. Your problem that you are feeling not good enough, or I'm not loved, or I'm not valued. And it shows up in English, it shows up in anything. And actually, I can see now that 99.99999% of every problem we have, at the deepest level, we feel that we are not loved. So we have to change ourselves, we become fake. That's the core. Original self, it doesn't have to change itself, it doesn't have to apologize, it doesn't have to pretend to be someone else. It's the unchangeable self that from there you bring the change you want to see in the world, as Gandhi said. And you help people to do that shift. It might sound simple, and still you need someone who did that shift. You need someone who sees you, who sees your truth that you didn't see it, your parents probably didn't see it. Because what are the chances that your parent is Eckhart Tolle, or I don't know, Chopra, or
oh my God.
If your dad is Eckhart Tolle, then fine, don't do that work with you. Because probably they saw your truth at the beginning and they help you to see it. Other than that, you need that work if you value truth, if you're passionate for truth. This is not just to make you feel good at the surface. This is to find the true goodness that lies behind, that lies in your heart, that place that you don't need approval. And can you imagine to live your life with less, at least I would say 99% less approval? Like now, even my parents, when I talk with my mom, she said oh my God, you're so different, Ehab, you're so different. My relationship actually are more loving because I don't need anything from them. They don't need anything from me. It's a freedom-based relationship. That's why it's more loving, because I don't need to change myself. That's the most precious thing in life. And you have the ability to do that very quickly, very quickly. So even when I was bringing you that list, you were putting it aside and you were saying, this is the one issue you have. For me, it was a lot to do with masculinity. And I never even thought that it's a problem. I never even, I never even considered that this is an issue. And just tackling it, everything like domino effect falls away. And I see now, in a way, that's the thing that was different in my life, if I might summarize it. Number one, I was calling my friend that I said it was the first time in my life that I don't feel I need to work on myself anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time in my life I don't feel that obsessive. I was like, I thought like I was in a rat race. In the back of my mind, I knew, but I was convincing myself that one day this will end. And the funny thing, the paradox, although this is like I don't feel I need to work myself, I feel this is the time that my life started. Like this is the time that I will work on myself. So it's quite paradoxical because you don't feel the need to work on yourself to get love, but you start feeling, holy shit, there's infinite possibilities. I want to kind of transcend any limitation. Like now, even the idea of passport, I know it's in me. The idea that I can travel the world, I know it's in me. So all that limitation, you start realizing it's in you and you feel like there is no time. I want just to awaken more and more and more possibilities. And you do it from such a place of knowing that you're already complete. It's the end of rat race that it's so ugly, to be honest. And for some reason, the self-growth industry, which I am from it, you are from it, so I can't speak ill on it, but it doesn't show people that they get in a non-ending rat race because they don't connect with the truth, because they think that someday I will be liberated, as if it's a shore out there, instead of realizing that you are liberation itself. And you help people to know that. Not intellectually, because we could speak about it, but at the heart.
Beautiful. And at that point right there, so the self-help industry, I'm not against, and I know you no longer are against anything. I'm not against self-help. I'm not against law of attraction. I'm not against the pharmaceutical industry. And if we look at them, just kind of cap this off. You brought up such a great point, and this might be the best way, or one of the most powerful ways of ending this conversation. The pharmaceutical company, our industry rather, if you just take an open look and you step all the way back to see it in its entirety, we could say that it is a self-perpetuating machine based more on the self-interest of the companies doing it than focused on the solution that it says it's offering. If the pharmaceutical industry were to work on a solution to illness, it would put itself out of business.
Yeah.
The self-help industry, if it offered a complete solution, it would put itself out of business. Now, there's always going to be more people, but the fact is, if all the parents stopped fucking up their kids with bullshit parental, governmental, religious, spiritual, medical, military programming, the next generation wouldn't need self-help in the damn first place. So if it offered a real solution, it would put itself out of business. So it's very understandable that the industry doesn't provide that solution and can't and won't. And so my kind of inside joke is that what I do is the end of self-help. And I love the way you said it. Wow, I actually, for the first time, I feel like I don't have to work on myself. Working on yourself guarantees more to work on. But realizing, wow, I'm free now, what would I like to expand into? A free flowing into totally infinite possibilities, where eventually you can literally think about a universe. Wow, what would it be like to live in that universe? Bring it into being, bring it here, dive into it, spend 10, 20,000 years exploring it without leaving your chair.
Exactly. And Brian, it was the first time I realized why I read from the first place or why I take a program. So now I still read. And I realized the reason I read because I have passion for knowledge. This is just a way I like to experience life. It's not good, it's not bad. I have passion for knowledge, generally speaking. But that passion only revealed itself when I got out of the rat race of the need to read in order to grow.
Yes, yes, yes. We can enjoy everything when we no longer need anything.
Exactly. For me, it's just a passion. I'm really passionate about that. But I wasn't even allowing myself to enjoy the passion, because it was like, what's the next book? The next book. And I have like 10 books in my shelf and they have to end. And there's like that heavy feeling that now I feel like, whew, I can just go to the park. I can, like, there is that chill out. Remember, you just tell me chill out. So that's the feeling. Chill
awesome.
the fuck out.
That's going to be the name of my next program. Chill the fuck out.
The fuck out. Yeah.
I love you, man. I appreciate you. Ehab, thank you for doing this interview. Is there any last comment you just feel from your heart to share, either about our work together or just like a closing gift to whoever?
Sure. Do the work that's based on truth, whatever it is. If you do any work in your life, do the work that's based on truth. And the truth says that you're already complete, you're already in a state of joy, bliss, love, and infinite possibilities. Anything that's not based on that foundation, it means you're in a rat race because you need to become some person one day, which is no more than a fucking illusionary image in your mind. I've been there. I don't want people to suffer from it. So if they want to do their work with you, or whatever the work it is, find a work that's foundationally based in truth. And it happened that your work is foundation in truth, and my work is, like, I'm picking a lot from the stuff you're doing, is also based on that foundation of truth. That's the most important thing. Every single thing secondary from that.
Beautiful. Thank you, man.
Cheers, my man. Cheers.
Namaste, everybody.